everybody, and welcome to 2022. And Happy New Year to everyone. I know we're a few days into the new year already, but I just wanted to start the year strong, I guess, and thank everyone for tuning in last year. I started Lost and Founder towards the latter end of last year, and it's been such a journey so far. I really am so grateful to everyone who's got in touch to inspire me to do this podcast and who's had positive thoughts and feedback on the podcast, and hearing other stories of other people who have been in a similar position to me and to other founders going through the last few years of lockdown and getting through it. So I thought I'd start by just saying a big thank you to everyone who's been tuning in and continues to tune in. It's awesome to know when I speak into the microphone here, it's being heard by some people, which is very heartwarming. I wanted to do today's show focused on the new year, and especially one part of the new year that a lot of people struggle with, which is January and the January blues. So I wanted to spend some time today just to talk through how I'm feeling, some of the things I'm doing to try and get through the very dark month of January, and hopefully there's some interesting stuff in here for you that might be valuable. So let's get started with the show. Now, starting the new year, it often feels like, if you're on social media at all, that a lot of people are racing to get started, to be their best selves and to start new habits, start new fitness regimes, start new diets, learn new skills. And it can sometimes feel incredibly overwhelming to see a lot of people seemingly who are nailing life and getting everything in order right from the get-go. And I think this year more than ever, I have not been feeling quite like that. I have been feeling like having a bit of a slower ramp up, a bit more time to go and get stronger. And I've been feeling that actually the first few days are often a good time to reflect still. And I would emphasize that before starting to do anything new, before setting new goals, I think it's often you can get so excited about doing that new thing that you don't take the time to reflect and look backwards at why things have and haven't worked in the past. And so I think from my side, I'm still in some ways spending a little bit of time looking back at 2021 and what the year meant for me, how things went for me. And I think even though we're a few days in, I think there's still, it's not really a race. Like there's a bunch of time right now where we can be spending it looking at reflecting on the previous year. And I'd highly encourage anyone listening to try to do that before setting any sort of New Year's resolutions or new things in motion. If you spend some time reflecting, it can be really, really valuable for just understanding more about yourself and being a bit clearer with what maybe is a sensible thing to take on and what you might struggle with. And I think from my side, I have set resolutions in previous years, and some of those have stuck, but some of those haven't. And I think it's often good to write those down and reflect, like, what were you thinking this time last year, maybe even the year before, and how did those things actually turn out in the end? And it can be quite a humbling experience. It can be quite refreshing, but I think it's a good thing to do before setting new things in motion. Just remember, there's a ton of stuff out there right now, a ton of content, a ton of advice on being the new you, being healthier, being tidier, being more successful. And the vast majority of it, I think, it's well-intentioned at times, but I think a lot of it is put there by media publications or by people that are trying to sell something. And I would just be very conscious before taking too much of that to heart. Go easy on yourself and start small and start by reflecting. And I think that will help you get a bit more grounded in what really needs to matter to you. I think a mistake that can be made is jumping in, thinking you need to do all the things basically before really understanding what's most important to you. I think particularly at the moment, we are still in this god awful pandemic that has been testing all of us for a good 2 years now. And I think sometimes I think our minds want to escape that harsh reality or put it aside. But I think, especially sort of wearing my personal hat now, but also my being a founder CEO hat, I think got to keep reminding yourself of that everyone around you, everyone on your team, and yourself included, these are not normal times, or the new normal is not is not the best place to be. And I think it's really important to try and remind yourself to go a bit easier on yourself. I think that might be a big reason why I'm not feeling like I need to jump into everything at the start of this year. It feels like we are running a very long race at the moment, a long marathon, and we're just not sure when it's actually going to end. And the month of January, at least in the UK, is a very dark and dreary month. I'm talking to you now. It's not that late in the evening, but it's pitch black outside, and it's cold and it's wet, and all of these things combined with the seemingly endless time spent indoors in the same environment, the monotony of it is incredibly testing on each of us, and it affects us each in different ways. And I think it's really, really important to try to make sure you, in anything you're setting out to do at the start of this year, to be cognizant of that and to make sure you do go easy. And I think importantly, ramp up to anything you want to be doing. You don't need to go all in. You don't need to jump in at the deep end and tackle things head on and take huge tasks on, because I think that is a recipe for ultimately crashing and burning quite quickly. I think for me, at least, ramping up, building a few habits back into my routine is what I'm trying to do. And I think rather than setting big audacious goals, I'm trying to reflect on what are the things I was trying to achieve last year, and how can I bake those things into small habits, small daily habits, weekly habits that hopefully I can build up again into more of a routine. And rather than trying to, say, paint a picture every day or write a blog post every day or get a podcast episode like this out every single day, trying to think about small but significant steps towards that can be taken, and especially starting small and not trying to tackle too much. And so I've been looking back at some of my daily habits as well and seeing how many of them drifted off and dropped off at the end of last year. At least in London at the end of last year, everyone was staying inside trying to avoid catching COVID. And it's been, and I wouldn't be surprised if the majority of people listening have really struggled to maintain a consistent routine and consistent habits right through to the end of last year, because there's so much stuff that's happening in life, that's happening in the world, that is doing its hardest to pull ourselves away from getting on with our lives in the ways we want to. So I think starting small, building up, ramping up, and trying to think about your routine more than anything is I think pretty sensible advice to start as you mean to go on. I also wanted to touch on New Year's resolutions in particular. I think each year it seems like when we switch between these two arbitrary points in time, the point where the end of December meets the start of January, we all decide that it's a good time to set New Year's resolutions. And I think that's sometimes actually not the best place to set New Year's resolutions, or to set resolutions or major changes in our life. I think from my side, I know that once I've had that Christmas break, I can sometimes feel like I have an endless supply of time because I've been on holiday for a while. I've been relaxing, I've been chilling out, and I've not been living my normal life, which is actually working day to day and running a team and running a company. And so I would stress that, you know, you don't need to wait for New Year's to set resolutions, and you certainly don't need to feel that because New Year's has passed that you've missed the boat to set resolutions. And I also think that actually resolutions themselves are perhaps a little bit superficial to actually achieving change that you might want to see in life. And I think one of the most valuable things I've done in the last 2 years has been working with a coach to help me get clearer on what's important in my life. And one of the things she really encouraged me to do was to define my values. And I really, really felt that this was all nonsense. And I even feel slightly cringy saying it now because I know what I would be thinking hearing that, oh God, values, it sounds so cringy hearing it. But I think for me, what I've actually managed to find is that there are a few areas that I really value highly in my life. And I don't think I was clear enough on those in the past. And now when I think about changes in my life, changes in my schedule, changes in what I want to achieve and what I want to do, they almost always come back to those values and only a couple of core things. And I think when you have that clarity, then it can really help you think about how you spend your time, about what you commit to, about what you say no to, and about making smaller changes that can actually all add up into a much bigger picture change for you as an individual. So I think for me, it's really been about reminding myself of those values, really kind of reflecting on the last year about how well I've been kind of living up to those or living with those values and achieving those things that I wanted to achieve, and really thinking about which of the habits that I've been successfully keeping, which are the ones I've really been rubbish at and need to kind of rethink, and also looking at the ones which just haven't been serving me that great and being a bit more brutal about whether or not I should keep them or just get rid of them and allow myself to focus that time elsewhere. So I think those are a few things. I don't think I have too much more to say on the topic of January blues, other than I would also encourage you, if at all possible, to try to put something on the horizon, maybe for the end of January, maybe the start of February, that you will look forward to, something that you can maybe, when times get tough, try to think of something that you might be hopeful for, looking forward to, whether that's, I don't know, booking yourself a stay somewhere that would be lovely in these crazy times, or maybe it's treating yourself to some item of clothing you've wanted or didn't get for Christmas, or maybe it's investing in some crypto, or I don't know, whatever the heck you're interested in or excited about. Maybe make yourself a little promise to reward yourself at the end of January. And I think knowing that you've got that reward coming can be a helpful way to pull you through the darkest times in this month, and hopefully get you on the right track and feeling upbeat again in no time. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. And I think it's been nice to do another episode. It's been a long time since I did an episode of the show, and it is always an honor to be able to speak to you, dear listeners. If there was one request I would have for anyone listening, it would be that I would love to hear more about what you want from me this year and from this podcast. I'm sure any of you tuning in are listening for one reason or another. It's always really helpful for me to hear those reasons so that I can keep making the show better and keep doing it and keep making it valuable. So if you did have any thoughts, if you did want to hear more on any topic, if you wanted me to dig deeper into anything, if you wanted me to open up about any topic, please let me know and I'll consider it for a future episode. So yeah, I think that's all from me for the first episode of 2022. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you next time. Have a good start to the year.